How many records do you hold?
The Trackhawk we had for a long time on paper. The Durango we hold. We have the TRX record. And then we have every single record you can possibly have Hellcat related, car and truck at Race Motive. Every single one of these has our twin turbo package on it.
Our guest today, Steve of RIPATUNED. Eat, Sleep, Race podcast. We're back with our guest today, Steve of RIPATUNED, and my co-host, Hugo ESR. Steve, let's get into it. When and how did RIPATUNED start?
Well, RIPATUNED actually started back in like 2018. We were actually basically doing this stuff as a hobby at that point. I had a purple Hellcat, which I still have. And we did a whole bunch of modifications to it. And we had a lot of people asking, well, me basically, and my friends, like what we were doing with this car because it was much faster than a lot of other people's with basic stuff. That's kind of how it started. Like we had this one like signature car, and from there, people just kept asking us to help them do their cars. And at that time, I was working at Liberty Mutual Insurance. We were doing this kind of like part-time after work in my garage. People were dropping off cars. We were building them at that point. I was working with a tuner at that point who was remote tuning them. And from there, it kind of spiraled out of control to the point where I couldn't do it at my house anymore. And we had to make a judgment call to either, do this full time or not do it at all anymore. And we just kind of took a plunge, and here we are.
From starting in 2018 to you going full time into it, having a shop, how long did that take?
About a year and a half.
That's kind of crazy. So, like out of the hole, just that first car, you kind of dominated the market.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I know, like when we first met, you had a Corvette.
I did.
When I first met you. So
what year was that?
That was a 14 C7. So you probably met me in 2015. It was supercharger on at that point.
Yeah, and I remember like you did a burnout video and stuff.
Yep, with you guys. Yeah.
Yep. So like
the
what?
Yellow one.
Yellow one. Yep.
Yep. And then what made you jump from a GM, a Corvette to the Hellcats or Challengers?
I was literally just in a dealership, and I saw the purple car, purple Hellcat. Kind of fell in love with it. It was like the new hot thing, big horsepower.
From the factory,
yeah. And I said, you know what, this looks cool. Let me get into it. I was never into the mopar stuff before that. No. Wow. So like that was what got me into it was the Hellcat.
Did you trade in the Corvette for it?
No, I actually had an ATS-V in between.
Oh, that's right. You had the white one, right?
White one, yeah.
Yep, I remember we were talking about that car too.
And that car was kind of like not mod friendly at that point. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this. It was best thing I ever did was buy that car.
I was going to say, so the best decision you ever made with cars. Well, actually, the best decision you made with your life, because clearly RIPATUNED is your life now.
Yep.
That's kind of wild.
So it took off. So RIPATUNED, like when you first started, were you tuning at the time, or was it more just like, hey, like...
No, it was literally just the hobby. The main reason we started was really like we were basically fixing things that other shops had done wrong. It was like me in my garage with Mike. You've met him before. And we had people coming to us. Like I had my car at the track. We were running these crazy times. I had people who were there having issues. And they got my information. We exchanged info, and then a week or two later, the car was at my house. I think we were fixing it,
Yeah, I think during that time, too, when those Hellcats came out, that was like a booming time, especially here in the East Coast, because, at any given test and tune, especially that was when Raceway Park was still open, you'd get tons of,
Oh, yeah.
I ran my car there. I had the stick because I wanted to have a stick one.
Yep.
Hindsight, I should have just bought an auto because that shit wasn't drag friendly.
Yep.
But, at any given time, when we used to go there for the Wednesday test and tunes, there's probably at least a dozen, if not more.
Oh yeah.
Like some type of mopar there, and obviously at that time, mostly the Hellcats.
Yeah, they were getting super popular at that point.
Yep.
I think it was actually like I think it was like 2016, 2017. The Ratchet Friday, I broke the blower only record at Ratchet Friday, and I think that was the last time I ran at English Town, unfortunately. But
yeah. I was there for that night. I remember that.
What year was your Hellcat?
whatever your first year came
That was the
out.
first year it came
yeah,
out,
the
right?
15 probably, yeah.
Because I got mine, and then I think like right after you got yours.
Yeah, the 16, yeah. Yep.
So with this first car, you're saying it was a lot faster than what other cars were doing. At that time, were you just doing bolt-ons, and was it your tune that was making you faster?
It was really just bolt-ons. Not a lot of guys were running E85 at that point. There was no trans tuning at all at that point. That was the big thing. So once they unlocked the transmissions, we were able to really go a bunch faster at that point. But yeah, the E85, my car was light. I did like a 15-inch conversion. A lot of other guys were still running like 20s with Mickey Thompsons or 18s, like a Bravado wheels, like just like the same.
There
setup.
was limited
Super
setups.
limited setup. Like it wasn't really that popular at that point, not that big. And
So-
I was taking parts off the older Mopar stuff that was already developed, putting it on the Hellcat, had like a full 15-inch conversion on the car. Like upper lower pulley, E85 injectors, intake, like nothing crazy. Completely stock blower, stock motor, stock trans, car ran 9.1. It's pretty fun back then. Full
Compared
weight.
to what was
The average guy like on E85 back then was running like a 980, 970.
That's big. That's a big number. That's a big difference.
You know what? This is a similar story, and this is deja vu, right? So Prime Dimitri had a similar story that his purple STI is the reason why his shop ended up growing, because without having that staple, I guess
That was the catalyst.
it was that one car that built
Right.
the business, and for you it was
Same thing, yeah.
your purple Hellcat.
If it wasn't for that car, I definitely would not be on the map for sure.
That's pretty cool.
100%, yeah.
So how, like, I know you still have the purple car,
Yep.
but then there was a time when you started going crazy with it, making different intakes, and then at that one point, you turboed it, right?
Yeah, big single turbo.
Yeah. So
yeah,
did that disappoint a lot of people that you kind of like stepped out of the
absolutely.
Hellcat motor, like power plant?
That's still a thing today.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can get into it a little more later, but like the same thing with the Trackhawks and the TRXs. A lot of guys are running blowers, still like gutting the truck, all that kind of stuff. And we made a decision about 2 years ago to say, you know what, we're gonna kind of go against the grain. I was an import guy before all this stuff back in the day. Loved turbochargers. So that was what made me turbo the Hellcat to begin with, because no one was doing it. I knew the potential of it.
Were you the first?
Yeah.
Nice.
I did not ever see another one. Cody fabbed the whole kit.
Shout out to Cody.
Yeah, Cody's killer welder. But yeah, so he fabbed the whole kit. The big problem at that time was getting the car to actually turn on and run with the stock computer with it having a turbo 400. So I got rid of the trans. I went old school with it. 9-inch rear.
What worked?
Yeah. So we finally figured it out. We ended up using a crate harness kit that they had for like the 6.4. Put that whole car together like that, and from there, we were running mid to low eights with it on the stock motor.
Was that a kit that you ended up selling?
No, that was like a one-off kit at that point. The amount of things that had to be done to run that specific kit, like moving the engine backwards and all sorts of motor mounts and stuff, wouldn't make it reasonable for the average person to be able to bolt it on at their house and us to be able to sell.
So that's more like a race car.
Yeah,
almost at that point.
At that
Like
point,
a strictly dedicated.
Yep.
What's the most horsepower you've added to an SRT?
Well, they all come with about 707 generally, unless it's like a Demon or a Red Eye. They come with a little more, but the most horsepower we made on the dyno so far is a tick over 2,000 in the Trackhawk.
Wow.
Yeah. Still the stock.
And that's the one that's been I've seen online. It's still like full interior, everything like that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this one specifically now, it's not gutted at all. It's just the interior seats are out, and it's got a Sparco racing seat.
Yeah,
but
besides
yeah,
that.
other than that, it's full truck, trailer hitch. Nothing's taken apart, AC. The whole thing. Customer actually drives it all the time, and that's a stupid fast truck. We have a bunch of those now.
What's
So,
the number? Like, what number does that run?
That one, the customer doesn't actually want me to tell.
What should it run?
Specific one. But we had the record with the Trackhawk. That specific car, it's a little bit different. He doesn't want us to let anybody know, But we had the 8.6, which got broken recently by another truck, fully gutted, obviously. Different kind of setup. But it's more of a race truck than what my customers really have at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, they run like all of them are in the mid to the high eights at this point. All the Trackhawks that we
Wow.
build with the twin turbo kit.
So you think that Trackhawk is like the platform? Like,
Trackhawk, Durango.
Yeah, those
Yep.
two.
So that was actually my next question. Hellcat or Trackhawk? What and why is the best platform?
If you're someone who likes to drive your vehicle, like all the time, and you want to have fun with it and be able to hook, you got to get a Trackhawk or a Durango.
The all-wheel drive.
Yeah, just
It's a
on the
no-brainer.
street, these things almost run the same times they do on a fully prepped track.
Wow.
It's very close. You know,
So
we
s-
got multiple draggy hits in Mexico. These things are running like 8.7 on the street.
So hands down, Trackhawk.
I think Trackhawk and Durango. The Durango is a pretty
It's a pretty impressive
platform
truck.
as well.
Yeah, being like
It's a little different, but
7 passengers.
our fastest one, which is actually the world's fastest Hellcat all-wheel drive out of all of them, is actually a Durango. It's not a Trackhawk, and it weighs more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we won 8.4 on paper in that. It's pretty cool.
So speaking on records, like, how many records do you hold?
If we're gonna talk Trackhawk,
Just in general,
yeah,
like,
I mean, the Trackhawk we had for a long time, on paper. The Durango we hold, we have the TRX record, and then we have every single record you can possibly have Hellcat related, car and truck at Race Motive.
Wow.
So,
you bringing up,
every single one of these has our twin turbo package on it.
so bringing up like race motive and stuff. I know, when we all started out, roll racing wasn't a thing back then.
No, I wasn't interested in it all.
And I think like last maybe 8 to 10 years, roll racing kind of is like a thing now.
Yep.
And a lot of these big horsepower cars aren't even on the track like that. They're roll racing.
Yeah.
And I see that obviously you're there. Your business definitely changed from that. How do you think the roll racing customer is compared to the drag racing customer?
It's a completely different customer. It's generally a person who doesn't care about wanting to hide stuff, not like a grudge racer. It's more of like a person who just
Wants
has an
to
adrenaline rush. Really.
Yeah.
Like they want to go fast. It's definitely competitive though. We had
It's a science to it.
We had a big rivalry this year, back and forth with another Hellcat. We ended up coming out on top, fortunately. But it was back and forth all year long, and I actually personally enjoy it. I think it's a more laid back environment when you're there. A lot of the people are really cool. It's not like, you don't have to worry about like going there and generally breaking as much stuff. Just because, drag racing specifically
The
launching
shock
yeah.
and everything on the
and
on the
launching
drive
these
line.
cars are just, these are heavy cars making a lot of power, breaks a lot of stuff. So
Have you participated in the roll racing events?
oh yeah.
Like
Yep.
yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first Demon, we built to specifically roll race, basically. Built a centrifugal blower kit first for a Hellcat. That's where I actually started really enjoying it, was racing that car there. It was a lot of fun. And being on the track at Pocono is a cool experience.
It's different. It's different.
Even the second time, third time you go, it's still fun. So, but I think you're going to see a lot more of it with drag strips closing, honestly.
Yeah.
And then with, draggy being so
Popular.
super popular, super accurate. I
It's
mean,
an
you
international
can really,
thing. Yeah.
you can really like get out there and get a pretty good, idea for a car with the draggy, what it's actually running in the quarter mile. It's super similar.
Mhm.
So I see a lot of draggy passes on your page.
Yep.
Are most of your customers modifying to take them to the track, or?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them do. But a lot of them, like I said, these things are all-wheel drive, so they can go on the street and enjoy them.
Right.
We don't really have a lot of Hellcat customers that are doing anything on the street because it's tough.
You're not going to
It's a
hook.
rear-wheel drive car. It makes big power. And to build it to work on the street, it's not going to be optimal on the track. So it's one of those things where unless someone's a street racer, they're not really doing it. It's not really the best platform right now. All these guys, street racing, it seems like it's GTR, the new BMW stuff, and the Trackhawk, Durango, all those guys. That's like the big street racing stuff now.
So out of 100% of your customers, what would you say is the percentage of like how you see people using their cars?
My customer base is actually changed recently because we've got more competitive. So we're getting a lot more people who are coming over and wanting to switch their cars from a blower setup to twin turbo. But I would say before it was probably 80-20. People, daily drivers, were putting packages on cars, like, upper lower pulley at that point.
80% daily drivers?
Yeah, and 20% race.
Oh, wow.
And we got a lot of flack for it forever because we never had anything fast at the track.
So what is it now?
It's the complete opposite. Now we have all the records.
So would you say it was like the past?
So now the new thing is, Ripa doesn't tune. He has a tuner. Whatever they can come up with, it's funny. But
So you bringing that up, I always laugh too when I see your posts on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, social media world is a little wild, but it seems like you only go on Instagram when it's like, or I'm sorry, even like Facebook on like the post when it's like your last resort for trying to get something done. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think? Like, do you use the social media as a tool to get something that was wrong for you, like, corrected, or is it more just to just put it out there, like, because I know you don't care. You call it how it is.
I'm completely unapologetic. It's probably got me in trouble more than it's helped, but at the same time, it's also got us to a place where everybody knows our name. And at the start, it ended up being a good thing overall, I think. But like I said, I'm not politically correct car-wise online at all. Like, it's, this is how I am.
Yeah, and
because
when I read the
stuff
post
that goes on, it bothers me.
Yeah.
And I see people getting taken advantage of. And like I said, when we first started, that's what it was. It was people getting taken advantage of. And I had these cars that were getting dropped off at my house from, professional place or so-called professional place at that point.
they're all hacked up.
And many of them, yeah. And we're fixing this thing as like doing it part-time in my garage. And that never sat right with me. And then from there, I've always been like that online. So.
Like in your parking lot of your shop right now, how many cars are just waiting to get worked on?
We've been at capacity for about 2 years. Like, we got the new building and we've outgrown it since we got it.
So I've seen pictures. There's like clearly a parking lot directly next to your building.
Yeah.
What's capacity for you guys?
20.
Just wait.
Yeah. And the problem is, like, a lot of them are TRXs, so they're big. If we were like working on cars like this, we'd have obviously more space, but all these cars are big. Like Jeeps. Yeah, primarily all of our business now is Trackhawk, Durango.
So all trucks, basically.
Yeah, basically trucks.
How fast could you turn them around at this point?
Twin turbo kit in like 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if a customer was to hit you up right now, let's say I got a Trackhawk, I want to get one of your packages. What's your lead time? Like for me to get into the shop?
It depends on what it is. We're booking for January.
Okay.
Generally at this point.
That's not bad.
Yeah. What we do, and this has worked well for us and the customers, we make sure all the parts are at the shop.
Yeah.
Everything's waiting for the customer, so we'll take a payment up front for all the parts. We don't take anything for any kind of labor or any kind of down payment for that stuff, but we'll make sure everything's there. So when the car is there, we can bang it out and get it out the door. So
I saw on the website you have kits named Stimulus Kit,
yeah,
COVID Killer.
Yep.
Are those names here to stay, or
they're never going away?
And we're obviously, I guess
this stuff's so like wildfire.
did you develop those things because of COVID? Like,
oh yeah, yeah. And it was like our big boom was during COVID. Like it was huge. And I think it was a lot of small businesses was the same thing. There was a lot of people home, they were getting money, and obviously not enough to build a car, but they were bored. They were kind of like,
a lot of people didn't go on vacation and stuff like that, so you have free money staying around.
Disposable income, and it's with these cars, it's most of the customers are doing pretty well. Especially with the TRX market. I mean, it's a lot of contractors, and same thing with the Trackhawks. These are not inexpensive cars. So these things are, 80, 100, 110 grand, even more sometimes. So we have a good customer base, which is nice. And we're working on newer cars, which obviously is a little bit easier than the older stuff. We don't run into as much issues at that point. So as long as the car hasn't been touched elsewhere.
So right now in your basic, I shouldn't even say basic, what is the highest horsepower kit that you make for, like, without going into the engine?
It really depends if the customer's okay with going twin turbo.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like one of your
E85 twin turbo. E85 twin turbo, you can run, You know, with the TRX, which it seems like the best fuel pump wise, about 1,300 wheel.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's almost it's basically like
9-second TRX, basically.
like double the horsepower.
Yeah. Yep.
And reliability, streetwise, like
good.
those are all good.
Yeah, they're all great. They all drive like stock. It's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the compound boost stuff is really a lot of fun because there's no turbo lag at all. It could be bolted on easily. Like we've sent out over 100 turbo kits people for TRXs, and these people are not mechanics, and they're able to install it the way we built it in the driveway. You know, we do the remote tuning with them, send them everything they need, and you know, once they get it on the car, they send us the computer, we unlock it and send it back to them, and you know, a couple of days later, tuning, they're done. You know, and they have a car with double the horsepower.
That could be that could be done in over a weekend, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you mentioned it before when you first started, somebody else was doing the remote tunes.
Yep.
Is that still how it is today?
We have a person who does our remote tunes now that focuses basically just on us. His name is Jared. He's in Texas. The guy is absolutely incredible. I've worked with many tuners, and we've had to fire many of them because of many different reasons. The biggest problem I've always had with tuners is that they don't see what goes on the actual shop life. So like if someone's doing a remote tune with you, let's say, and we're on the dyno, we've had tuners who will literally say, it's 5 o'clock, I'm done for today. You know, take it off the dyno. And at that point we didn't have our own, you know, so we were using somebody else's. So, you know, it's just inconvenient. Yeah. I think they don't understand. I feel like a lot of the tuners got a big ego thing too, but yeah, they don't really understand what goes on in the shop life unless they work in a shop environment, you know, and then they'll see like there's not every single time when you build a car that's making double the horsepower, you're going to have a perfect setup. You know what I mean? You're always going to have some kind of tweaks or whatever. And, you know, there's a couple of specific people were out the door 4:30, 5 o'clock. You know, you're waiting until the next Monday to finish a car. You're bringing it back to the dyno, strapping it, unstrapping it. And that didn't sit right with me. So we went through a bunch of tuners. Came across Jared through a friend of a friend, and since then it's been the best choice we've ever made. So
that's pretty cool on this platform. I mean, it's 100% remote tuned for you.
Yep. Yeah, remote tuning, 100%.
And are most of these cars still running stock ECUs?
They all are.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
The only one that's not at this point is my purple car.
Purple
it's on
car.
the Holly Dominator, yeah.
Okay.
But everything else is on the stock computer. We've been able to get to the point where we can make it super happy with the turbo systems with no supercharger. That was originally a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're able to do that, and there's more tuning involved with, you know, there's more options, obviously, with HP tuners. That's all we use. To be able to do that, made that available. Between that and the new transmission stuff, these things are basically, you can do anything you want with them. So we're at the point now where the computer's not really the limitation. It's more of, you know, engine parts and stuff like that, finding the limitations of the stock block, stock, you know, main caps, stuff like that would have never broken before, but power level is just massive.
Yeah,
the cars are heavy and the power level is big. Like, in perspective, if we put one of these power plants in a car that, like, let's say it's in this Trackhawk and it weighs 5,300 pounds, if we put that power plant in, let's say, a 3,000-pound Mustang, it's a 6-second car. That's how much power they're making, 2,000 horsepower. So.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to fathom that, you know, you can run it on the stock computer, and these guys are daily driving these things. No check engine lights. It's like incredible.
Right. So, I mean, you did mention that earlier. A lot of your customers daily drive them.
Yep.
Which is pretty badass for putting
cool.
down that much power.
Yep.
That's a lot of gas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially on the 85, it's even more. But, yep.
I think you need to open a gas station for E85.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yep.
I was going to say...
And, you know, in Jersey, it's
limited.
Yeah, so we're doing like runs to Newark Airport.
I was going to say
4 drums in the back of a pickup
I
truck.
was going to say maybe you need to open up closer to Newark. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the Hellcat capital of the world.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah.
So
that in Philly.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't know if it's in the best way, but yeah.
To that note, I want to say this is in my personal opinion. What I see online about all these sideshows, majority of them are this SRT platform, unfortunately.
Yep.
And a lot of the, you know, unfortunately, due to the technology of these cars, a lot of the cars that get stolen are these SRT cars.
Yep.
What's your take on that?
So those shows, what everybody does, It's not for me.
It's not is it your customer?
No.
They'll
No.
never be your customer.
I mean, listen, I'll do whatever, as long as the customer is a good customer, they're not doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. But at the same time, like it's not our customer base. No.
So you actually mentioned that as long as they're a good customer, have you had a bad customer?
Of course. I think every business has had a bad customer.
And what's your worst customer memory?
Worst customer memory. I mean, it's honestly like a lot of people online. That's the worst. Like we send a lot of stuff out to people.
Okay.
We're to the point now where I think we're right around 8,000 to 9,000 packages out of our shop. Yeah.
Turbo kits?
No, not just turbo kits, but I'm saying like
just in general.
Pulleys,
Okay.
all our intakes we build, chiller kits, all this stuff. I think we're in right around the 85 to 9,000 range. So a lot of this stuff goes to people that is like I said before, like a home mechanic, or like they don't really know specifically how to work on their car, or they think they know, and then they hear advice from somebody else or whatever. So we get in these situations online where it'll turn into like a bash fest real quick, and that's our biggest problem.
Is it because like improper install?
It's a lot of times improper install, like improper maintenance, like, especially with the TRX stuff. These guys take these things off road, like the engine base completely
Covered in
hammered, mud, dirty, and they're like, oh, we got
everything's clogged up.
Yeah, we have an issue with like a belt slipping, like did you check? We got a whole questionnaire for these people, like when they run into that, like a FAQ. Did you check, the tensioners? You check the pulleys? And they're like, they'll respond back in 3 minutes. Yeah, it's all good. It's your problem. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it's not, because you couldn't have checked that stuff in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? But that's our biggest thing, is like online dealing with it. And same thing, we're not Amazon. We're not like going to say, okay, here you go. No problem. Here's a refund. Keep your part. We don't care. Like we're a small business.
So how do you deal with these bad customers?
We tell them how it is.
That's it.
It's it. Yeah.
It's your fault.
It's not their fault. But what I'm getting at is like we'll tell the customer how it is, and if it's a situation where we feel or we've gone through all the measures, like they've sent the part in, we've examined it, we've sent them another one. If we send them 2 parts, let's say, and they still have a problem, it's something else. It's just not, at that point. But yeah, I mean, we're go through the measures, obviously, of getting the parts back to the customer and do what we should do, nicely with everybody. But then from there, if it's not what somebody wants to hear, people automatically assume what they don't want to hear with bad customer service.
Of course.
And I feel like it's gotten more and more common recently. You see it, I think, with the economy not doing as well. You see like, obviously like a little bit more chargeback activity, and there's just way more scams like nowadays than there ever was.
Yeah.
People found more and more ways. I'm sure you guys see it as well. It's crazy. We have software now that can detect if it's like, if somebody's buying something from a different IP address, it'll tell us automatically it's fraud. And at that point, we're asking somebody, the people for a driver's license to make sure it's them. And
there's a lot of info.
9 times out of 10, we won't get anything back. And then at that point, you'll see a charge come through, and they stole some little old lady's credit card buying a turbo kit. It's like, you see it all the time. So luckily that stuff's there to try to protect the businesses. But overall, that's our biggest thing is, people online getting into these, groups, a bash fest or whatever. And then luckily we have literally thousands of customers that go to bat for us because we do the right thing. So
I was going to say, that's pretty cool how the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
So because you've set so many records, it's kind of hard to bash you guys because of all the records that you do hold, and you have clearly a long list of customers that you've done right too.
Right.
So these one-offs that try to go against you, it's kind of like, well, you're one versus how about the hundreds, if not thousands of happy customers?
Yep. And that's, like I said, we see it all the time, and it's kind of tough to deal with it. But at that point, we do the right thing at the end of the day, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, clearly you've been taking care of your customers.
Yep.
At the rate you guys have been growing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been growing year over year, over 100%, 200%.
Wow.
So it's working well. We're definitely doing something right, and we're going to continue to do it the same way. So
Do you ever see yourself stepping outside of, Mopar SRT platform?
Yes.
What is the future of Ripatuned?
It's really hard to say. I think we're going to do my Lambo, and see how that goes. We have a couple parts in the works for that. That's another platform that's kind of like a niche market, and it's saturated too. But same thing. There's not a lot in the Northeast that are very good. There's some, but not a lot. So I think we could get into that.
Do you think you could innovate that market much? Because Ripatune got to where it was because you're one of the first to do, the Mopar SRT platforms. Because I guess the Lamborghini market, there's already established, businesses that are
Right.
modifying and building kits.
Yep.
Is it worth it?
I think it's worth it just for the sheer fact of customer base. Getting to that level, like where you're dealing with very high end customers, which I think we already do because a lot of the customers who have the vehicles that they're bringing to us also have something like that. So, and we've been asked many times, like, will you build a twin turbo kit for my R8? Will you do this and that? And, we just flat out didn't have the time. But as this market changes that we're in now, because they're stopped making the vehicles,
They're kind of phasing out. Yeah.
yeah, so it's going to be one of those things where we either go all in and say we're going to continue to push these vehicles to new limits, standalone ECUs, all that kind of stuff, or we go into something else where we think we can have an impact and, put out some new cool parts that I know haven't been made and I have in my mind.
So I got two questions. Like, speaking on developing your own parts, did you ever think that when you first started, you would actually, be designing and developing, doing R&D on parts that you can mass produce?
I am going to say yes and no. So there was a lot of stuff that, like, when working on the cars, you knew that could be done better.
Right.
But if I didn't have the connections that I ended up finding, it's funny how I found them. Like, I had my machinist ended up being one of my really good friends now. He bought my stock blower off my purple car, and he was making parts for it, like, upgrade stuff for like the lid, pulleys, and all that kind of stuff. And then we connected about a year later, and he started making all my parts.
Obviously, these vehicles are they're going to stop making them.
Yep.
But also now, I feel like that market is still not dead, though. Remember how, like, back in the day,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, we're going to wait for the Corvette. Once two models come out, the Corvette's going to be cheap, and I can pick one up for cheap. Like, Trackhawk's been out for a couple of years now, over, like 8 years?
Right.
The first Trackhawk's still up there in price. So I feel
they
like
came out in 2018. They're going on, right around 6 years, I think.
6 years?
Yeah, and but just in general, like I said, it's going to get tough, I think, because of the economy, I think, just for the time being. Because
that too.
the cars are still expensive.
Yeah.
They're getting desirable because they're not making this power plant anymore. So the price is going up. The interest rates are terrible.
Yep.
So you're still going to have customers who buy them. And it's going to be, depending on how people continue to modify them, if it's going to be a good market or not. I think the Hellcat stuff, I think it'll be around a long time.
Where do you see the future of the pricing of these cars?
It's going to really depend on what the new Mopar platform comes out at. If the car looks good and the V6 or the inline six, what it's going to be is going to be, let's say, like on par with what the BMW stuff is. I think that'll be a great market to step into. And we've talked about it. But I think if it's kind of a flop, then I think that people are going to continue to play with the Hellcat stuff. So we're kind of a waiting game right now.
Prices would go higher then.
I think they're going to go higher if that car is no good. Yeah, until Dodge gets to their senses and makes another Hemi at that point, because people, they're gonna try this stuff, and if they get to the point where no one's buying this stuff, they're gonna have to make a change. I mean,
so if
they're kind of going all in,
if their next stage is good, do you already have? Well, I guess that's part of the business model, right? To step into that.
Yep. Yeah, we have ideas. I've talked to a bunch of manufacturers, and we have ideas. I mean, the power plant's in stuff already. You can get it in a Grand Wagoneer. So we already have looked into this, and it's feasible to do it as long as there's tuning available too. So that's always, the big waiting game. And even with the Corvette was years.
Yeah.
A new
I
Mustang
think,
you can't tune yet, but these guys are putting nitrous and pro chargers on them.
yeah.
You know, so
I think the Corvettes, like, it was pretty recent. They just
Yeah.
started like unlocking
within,
everything.
within like a month or two, they finally unlocked that computer to
Yeah.
where you could actually do something with it. So everybody was using like standalone piggybacks and all that kind of stuff before, and a lot of people don't want to go that far. They just want to put a blower kit or turbos
Yeah.
on, you know. So a lot of people are out there that'll say like, "Hey, I want to bring a customer's car in. I need it for 2 weeks. I want to build something new." Like, that's not me. I want to do it on mine, and then when it's right,
That makes
we put
sense,
it out.
though.
So
Well, that was a blessing to the business. I mean, you were able to grow to the point to be able to invest into the cars to
Yep.
do the R&D on, you know.
yep,
I guess it would have been a whole lot different if you were to go back from scratch instead of the purple car. Like, all right, at the same time, I wanted to build the TRX kit. Like, man, we're just starting out.
yep.
Yeah, it's just
Hugo,
tough.
you go buy
Yeah.
one. And we'll try building it off
Yeah,
yours.
I mean, like, we always just kept reinvesting back into the business.
That's awesome.
Just kept as much as we could, you know, and from there, it's definitely paid off. So
So we got the SRT Mopar platform. You're looking into maybe doing Lambos in the future.
yeah, like maybe just like not full time or anything like that, but we have some cool stuff that we'd like to do.
Hey, you said the same thing with the SRT Mopar platform. You weren't doing it full time just for fun,
Yeah.
and look what it turned into.
Yeah, the same thing though. Like that car, they're not making them anymore. Same thing. Like
Yeah.
so
At
it's,
some point, you're gonna.
it's a limited market, you
yeah.
know. And there's everybody thinks waiting for the next real hot thing.
But I mean, even so, I don't think you're ever gonna run out of work either. I mean, you
No.
got to keep in mind half the shops that we talk to, they're all working on cars that they don't make anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And their client base is still getting bigger and bigger. So as time goes on, again, these are becoming more desirable. Obviously the prices are coming down a little bit. So the guy that couldn't afford a brand new one can now
Right.
step into it and has enough saved up for maybe like your basic kit and go from there. I always ask the one question too about the shop. How long did it take for you to get your dream team together? Like, did you have to go through a lot of people, or you kind of just started out good and you just been running with it?
I still have my day ones. We haven't hired anybody really like along the way. The only person who has kind of, I guess we could say, hired along the way was actually a customer of mine. Tony he's now my like general sales manager. You might see him online, Tony D'Angelo. He's always commenting on people's posts. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, along the way, like, Joe, he's been with us. Mikey, day one, he was working in my garage with me. And we've never kind of gone outside. Like, it's definitely like a trust thing. It's hard to find really good people. These are people's, babies, these cars.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a blessing for you, because
yeah.
a lot of times shop owners have a hard time finding people.
Yep.
And you actually just have a team that's just been with you since day one.
Yeah,
And
I feel like we definitely have absolutely the best team out there.
that's good.
Like, these guys are just dedicated to this. Like, definitely have made in their lives like big changes to do this. Like, they've left their jobs, big
and for you,
good paying jobs.
and for you to be able to support that,
Yep.
obviously speaks on your business and how successful it is.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't have done it without these guys. Absolutely.
So it sounds like your only employee issue would be your tuners, but you finally
yeah, that's resolved.
got it down
And
to a good
luckily,
one.
like I said, since then, like, we've learned a lot about tuning. Like, I can tune a car if I want to. I choose not to. The reason I choose not to is because I run a business. Like, I can't be completely focused on doing that and doing all the stuff that goes on daily behind the scenes at a shop and be focused 100% on tuning a customer's car. I could drive it, log it perfect. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Look at a log and say, hey, this exact timestamp, take a peek at this. I drive it a certain way. All the customers' cars, like, we know exactly what we're looking for, like problem areas potentially with throttle and whatever. But for me to sit there and tune a car all day, it just doesn't make any business sense. I'd rather pay somebody who's a professional to sit there and do it, and that's what they focus on, and we have way better results.
What's your day-to-day look like at the shop?
I would say the day-to-day, generally, we're in there at like 8 o'clock. I am bouncing back and forth between the shop, emails, remote tuning, and then generally, like, from, I would say, 3 o'clock on, we're packaging stuff. And then my wife runs the shipping. She does that. So we, like I said, we basically keep everything in the family for the most part.
So do you? There's that term, work on the business or work in the business.
hmm
How do you see yourself these days?
I would say it's a bit of both.
Do you still have to get your hands dirty?
Absolutely. I'm in the shop all the time. Yeah. Yep. But I enjoy that though. It's a kind of like getaway from like doing the emails and stuff like that. Because if you don't enjoy doing this stuff, like it's not the best business for anybody. You know, it's definitely like a grueling business.
It's not easy.
No. And like I said, to do things at the level we're doing them, everything you have to be super meticulous. Like you can't leave any stone unturned. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no cutting corners.
No.
So
can't.
are you still physically wrenching on cars yourself?
Yeah. Yep. I will if I have to. You know, at this point we have 2 guys working on cars, Mike and Ant. We have Tony who does sales. I have another outside sales guy, Jeremy. He's another customer who turned into a really good friend, and he sells for us. And then, like I said, Joe does our media, and my wife does all the shipping. You know, helping her later on in the day because a lot of it's like heavy packaging and stuff. So,
Do you have like RIPATUNED dealers?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, all over the country.
So,
Yeah.
so you have a whole network.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
we have about 40 different people who buy stuff from us weekly.
Okay,
So
it's good to know.
yeah, it's cool.
So a lot of the people buying your kits, what percentage would you say are giving their cars to you versus, you know, having other people install your kits?
It depends on what it is. I would say it's like 50-50 on turbo kit stuff. And we prefer it that way because it's a little more intricate. And then I would say it's probably like 80-20 on like a pulley package with remote tuning.
Like 80% of people doing it on their own.
Yeah, doing it on their own or doing it at a local shop or a shop buying it and, you know, installing it for a customer and us remote tuning it.
So blowers versus turbo kits, you mentioned that in the past.
Mhm.
I mean, your twin turbo kit's clearly very popular,
Yes.
but also you prefer to install them in-house. So do you how's the market affected by that? Like is it harder to sell those kits or
No. So we generally will charge, I would say, less than another person would to install that kit. Obviously, because we could do it quicker, like we know it in and out, but the customer gets a better experience too if we're tuning it in person and if we're installing it. Because, like I said, you know, turboing a car that was never turbo, there's obviously stuff to look for. And we know exactly how the kit goes together, you know, that kind of stuff. So the average person at home, they might like run into like a couple hiccups doing something or whatever. But generally, like I said, it's all stuff that could be worked out like via email or over the phone or a tutorial. But a lot of people are not really like well-versed computer-wise for remote tuning. And that is probably our hardest thing is to get someone to get like a good log on a car, like run the right channels list. Things like that we really run into. It could be the hardest problem. So mechanic stuff, like most people could figure out, but the tuning stuff, I think, is where people kind of get even a little bit like scared, like they're going to hurt something, even though they're not. So, but also customers, like, they don't tend to listen. So
They know it all.
well, not even just that. So like they'll be like anxious on the first time they drive their, you know, brand new twin turbo car, and like the instructions are like, turn car on, let it idle for 10 minutes,
It's literally like,
cruise it around town, let it idle for 5 minutes, send us a log back, and then we'll get a log, and it's like 2 wide open throttle hits, like 140 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of what we run into. But other than that, I mean, it's fun.
so let's go back to the 170 that you got, the Demon 170.
Yep.
Let's speak on that because I don't think people know about it, but people kind of do when they first did that launch.
Yep.
Obviously you have one.
Yes.
You plan on racing it.
You plan on racing it this weekend. Yep.
Awesome. So what's your expectations from it right now?
So Dodge says it runs 891 at 151, I believe. I would say that's probably a perfect all the stars aligned pass, but we're not going to know until we try. I will say the car is pretty light. We weighed it today. It's 4,175. Like an older Demon's right around 4,300 pounds, so it's lighter.
Are you gonna change anything up from how it came from factory, or are you gonna just
not yet?
kinda
So
run
like
it?
right now, I'm literally running it off the showroom floor.
It's like a
put gas in it,
baseline.
20 miles on it, just make a pass. We're going to be the first people to make a pass other than Dodge, which is cool. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to take it, put it on the dyno, and then we're just going to do a full calibration to it. So we'll do engine and trans, put our trans map in it, and it'll probably pick up, if all goes like we think after like looking at the file and stuff like that, I think we're probably going to pick up like 5 or 6 tenths between trans tuning and engine tuning with the car, not touching any parts, as long as the fuel system can hang on. And there's ways to kind of go about that. I mean, we could always put like a dual booster pump in it, like get more out of the fuel system. We do a lot of those on the dual pump stuff, like on a Trackhawk or a TRX. But if the fuel system hangs on, I think it's definitely a 8-second car all day. Just with tuning is my guess. Because
awesome.
You used to be able to go like 9.1, 9.2 on ethanol in the older Demon, and that car makes considerably less power. And it's heavier, and it doesn't have as good a suspension, stuff like that. So it would be pretty cool to have a factory car with tuning, run 8s all the time. But so we're going to do that, and then we have some parts in mind. Not like major stuff really yet for those. And then from there, we're going to make a couple small parts, make a couple more changes, put on the dyno, and then put twin turbos on it immediately and go from there. So
let's speak on the other cars that you have. Dodge wise, you also had another like Dodge race car.
I have a drag pack. Yep.
Is that one? Have you been messing with that one,
No.
or kind of just letting that sit?
I've never driven it.
Okay.
I bought it, and I thought I was going to play with it, and then I realized that I would say 48 out of the 50 of them that are out there have been raced for 2 years, like professionally.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a whole drag pack program that these guys run in. So those cars are pretty hammered, and that's part of the 50. So I've only made 50 of these cars. I figure, hang on to it at this point. I haven't touched it in 2 years. I might as well just sit on it and see what happens. Maybe sell it in a few years. If the market starts looking really bad on it, like no one's going to care about it, then I'll play with it. But
right now, that's like sitting on ice.
Yeah, I'm just kind of chilling with that one.
Might turn into like a real collector.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's basically a 7-second car from the factory. So the fastest one they ever made. Its color combo is the rarest, and I think it's the best looking.
And what color is it?
It's called Hell Raisin. So
Okay.
it's like a deep, deep purple. It's all matte black graphics on it. Black weld wheels. It looks really cool. So,
Yeah.
a really cool car from the factory. I mean, it's like wheelie bars on it, solid rear.
Yeah.
Like it's serious. So
That's cool.
yeah, man.
This so the car that you just picked up, by the end of the year, it's going to be twin turbo, or what do you think?
I would say that car is going to be twin turboed by January.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be. I don't know where we're going to race it. I have to take it down south somewhere.
I was going to say, unfortunately,
Yeah, like we're kind of at the end of the year now.
off season for us.
So it's going to depend on how crazy we get. Like if we're going to decide to build a kit for it, then we might take more time to do some testing on it. Or if we're just going to do a one-off for that car and just have it be the fastest one ever and just keep it that way, then we'll build a one-off kit for it. But we'll see how it performs. I mean, the engine's apparently really beefed up. It's got like billet main caps and head studs and all sorts of stuff. So it's all the stuff you'd really do in the aftermarket. If the motor can hold a lot of power, it might be a good platform to pursue because people don't really have to do all that much besides build the trans and put a turbo kit on it, fuel system. So
Is that one of the power plants that Dodge plans on selling
yes.
as a crate motor?
Yep.
So it's going to be that, and then like I think obviously the Elephant is still a thing.
I don't know if you can still get the Elephant. They're calling this one, I think they're calling it the C170.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like 28 or 29 grand complete with the blower, which is in the grand scheme of things for 1,000 horsepower power
Not
plant,
bad.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
You can buy it without the blower for under 20. So it's still, you're getting a long block.
Right.
We have a customer who actually wants to buy that and put in his Trackhawk twin turbo it. So it'd be pretty cool. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, we're going to test it on mine and find the limits of it and go from there. I mean, my old Demon, we were making right around 1,200 wheel on the stock motor with the centrifugal blower. Never had a problem with it. It's still a stock fuel system. So,
Do you plan to get into the internals on any of these builds?
on which one? Like on the Demon?
For any of yours? Because you said,
Oh, a lot of ours have like full motors in them. Like the fast Trackhawks are all built motor.
oh, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that earlier. I thought you said they were all internals were in touch.
No, like most of the TRX stuff, like the
Okay.
compound boost stuff, all that stuff is untouched. But when people want to go to the next level, you have to. Like the limit seems to be like 12 to 1300 wheel on a Hellcat motor turbo. If you could keep it within that range and keep it fed with, high octane fuel or E85 or anything like that,
at.
it'll stay there for a long time with good tuning. If you lean it out one time, it's at that
done.
level, it's done. Yeah. So
I'm over here this whole night looking at your hat. Make Hellcats great again.
Yeah.
It's funny because obviously friend of the room too, and friend of ours, Calvo has the Make Vipers Great Again hat.
Yep.
And I know you have a Viper.
Yep.
Any chance of you gonna getting that twin turbo?
I'd love to. Yeah. But it's kind of on the back burner.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's more of like a personal one. Like that car, I like it the way it is. I would definitely twin turbo it, but I think like I said, I would do the Lambo first because I think the Lambo is probably a little bit better market for some of the stuff that we have in mind to sell.
Yeah.
But as far as twin turboing the Viper, definitely a dream. It just, I don't know if it's really worth doing right now. So.
Well, we know a guy that does them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Do you have a favorite racetrack in the U.S.?
The favorite place I've raced is probably MIR. That track's fun. It's always fast. And there's a lot of big events there. That's a lot of fun. I used to love Englishtown, but unfortunately,
Thing of the past.
Yep. But that was always, you come around the wall and it was just sick.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yep.
So I saw a post. Dan Ruse said there's no demon or Hellcat that could beat his GTR from a roll.
Yep.
Did he ever respond to you? Because I saw you put up a response video. Did anything?
So he never messaged me directly, but he did message my customer with the Charger saying that we are going to
the gray Charger in that video.
We're going to lock it in.
Get out of here.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to do it. So
soon?
I got something for him. Yep.
How soon?
Whenever these two get together and figure it out, we're probably going to head down south, Florida.
I was going to say, isn't his car's in Texas? No.
Cali. Dan's in Cali.
Oh.
So we're 100% going to lock that in for sure.
That'd be awesome.
I think he's pretty cocky about it.
You think if it was up to you, would you do this at an event? Would you do it in Mexico? What do you think?
No, it's got. I think it has to be on a track.
Okay.
Just realistically, like for both of these cars, because
I think the battleground. Meet in the middle is going to be Texas 2K.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, that gives you guys more than enough time.
Yeah, and there's a roll race event there.
That's what I'm saying.
He's talking about going from a roll. So.
Yeah, so prep. Both cars have ample time to get prepped, and you guys could set that pot from now till March.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
I'm 100%.
That's more than reasonable. So.
That's pretty cool. He actually did respond.
Yeah, I have he sent him a video note. It's
nice.
Cool, yeah.
Nah, Dan is a good guy, man.
Yep.
That's gonna be a good one. Like
Dan's car was built by a friend of the brand. So that'll be a very interesting race.
It'll be cool. I think a lot of people they underestimate what these Hellcats can do because they see they call it a boat, this and that.
Well, that's because of the slideshows too. Come on, man.
But they don't realize that Edwards' car is 3,500 pounds and makes about 1,850 wheel. So if this thing hooks, we're gonna have a race.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good race.
Yep. So
in your history of RIPATUNED, what was your most memorable race? Because there's a lot of shit talkers that you've had to deal with. So is your most memorable race against somebody who, I guess a competitor, opponent, enemy?
Not really. Most memorable is probably taking the blower only record back at ATCO. That was pretty fun. There was a news crew there, doing an event. We were on the news. That was kind of cool.
Was that random?
Yeah, it was random. They were covering. It was like a local Philadelphia channel or whatever. They were covering some stuff going on at ATCO, the event, and then everybody was raving about what I did, and then they came over and interviewed me. It was pretty cool. And then from there, I would say Adam taking the Trackhawk record because there was just so much shit talking with that beforehand, that we would never have a fast Trackhawk, and then we come out of nowhere and just smoke everybody. So that was cool, being able to do that, and then backing it up with multiple passes and going faster. So that was definitely, those two were big.
And that was recent.
That was this year, yeah. Yeah.
So we asked earlier Trackhawk or Hellcat, but we didn't bring the TRX into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to rank, in your opinion, what are the best cars to work on? I guess top 5.
Top 5. Trackhawk.
Number 1.
I think so. Yeah, because there's like a lot of rivalry with it, so it's kind of cool to be able. There's a lot of people gunning for that record. It's the most competitive one, so I like that one. The Durango, because it shouldn't be that fast. I think it's number 2, and then from there I would say even with the TRXs. I mean, these things are like 6,000 pounds and running. We have them running 9.2 in the quarter.
Number 3 TRX.
I would say like 3 or 4, maybe like that and the Demon. Those two are kind of cool, you know. So
Who falls last? 5.
who falls last? I would say probably just the standard Hellcat, like Challenger. Just kind of boring at this point.
It's like that's like the
And I have one. It's the same thing. It's just like at this point, it's like the oldest one. I don't know. It's just
yeah, it's not the same.
Maybe that's why your hat says, because Hellcats are number 5 in your list. Make Hellcats great again. So you should have another hat that says, I guess, Trackhawks are the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, all of them need a grade again because they're not making any of them anymore. So
I think the Hellcat is more famous, just more the motor, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day now.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what put it on the map.
Exactly, yeah. It's a shame that, they're not making them anymore because I think it's Dodge is obviously the highest selling vehicle. It gets the most hype. I think they're going to have a hard time keeping the customer base unless they pull off the impossible, make something that's completely sick.
I think they did a really good marketing job with the whole Hellcat thing.
Always.
Because,
always the best commercials.
That was,
everything,
like they knocked it out the park with that. And I don't know if they can top it with some of these other stuff coming out.
Yeah, that whole modern American muscle movement, bringing the pride back to American cars, that was pretty sick.
Yep. That was fun.
With the move of the industry towards the EV platforms, what's your opinion?
I think it's going to fail miserably, personally. If it hasn't caught on already the way that they think they would have, I think they're going to have a hard time. I mean, there's people that they got a Tesla Plaid. It was cool for 2 days and they're selling it. Like, it's just not, it's not the same. There's no soul to the car, in my opinion. It goes fast, but whatever. Like that's not the whole thing.
It ain't the same.
Like it's, you're not, there's no kind of you don't turn the car on, you don't hear it, you don't smell it, feel the car, just nothing to it.
That was crazy. A couple viral TikToks, a couple people actually shared them with me where I think there were 2 very viral ones of companies at SEMA. The modification was installing speakers under the car,
exhaust speakers,
and you can modify it to match whatever.
You could change the sound.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
Oh man,
it doesn't make any sense.
And it was the
you got your Hyundai. You got your Hyundai EV sounding like a Cummins.
that was the funny part.
You know what I'm saying?
Where they say you could get your Tesla. You could make it sound like any car that you want. You could have it sound like a Mopar. You could have it
you're not bringing in any car people with this stuff.
That's crazy.
So
nobody cares.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But these were reputable companies that had these cars in their booths. Oh man, this is a teeth clencher.
I think the companies who don't push 100% with that are going to be the ones that win, because everybody's trying to jump on this bandwagon because I think they have to. But I personally, I don't think it's not going to work. I don't know.
I mean, you're already starting to see beginning maybe 2 years ago, everyone set out their goals, right? Like, we're going to do it, and just this last 2-3 months alone, you've already have several manufacturers that already said these goals aren't feasible.
No, we as a country do not have an infrastructure to handle this.
It's not even that. Yeah, just in general, the whole world.
No.
Internationally, it's not going to happen.
No. And then anybody who is an enthusiast at all, there's nothing intriguing about any of them. Nobody makes anything that's even worthwhile to look at, in my opinion. I mean, I've never been really intrigued by any of them.
You know what did catch my eye? I didn't go to SEMA, so everything I'm saying was based off what I saw on social media. Mm-hmm. Garage Monkey had that Tesla converted Ferrari, Testarossa. That thing looked pretty nuts. Then there was it's funny because anything cool that I'm bringing up is a classic platform converted to
EV. Yeah,
but
it's not the
think
same.
About it, what is cool about a Testarossa besides how it sounds? You
They
know
don't
what I
even
mean?
sound nothing. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're gonna have to put them speakers on.
That's what I'm saying. So like
I
doing
wonder if
that
that's
is
what they
like
call
takes
it.
away from it.
Tesla Rosa. That'd be a cool name if they don't name it that already. That thing did look pretty trippy though.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another. I think it was the car from Back to the Future,
DeLorean.
the DeLorean that they did EV with
Yeah.
a crazy body kit. So I do think, you know, for the industry, for the EV platforms, I definitely think on the styling side of it,
That's why they're trying to do it, because they're trying to get into like something that actually looks cool. There's nothing out there
Yeah.
that's really intriguing at all, you know. So that's just my opinion. I mean, everybody's got their own thing. So
another friend of the brand, Rywire. He's got a couple cars that he's converted to EV. The S2000, he did an EV kit. He's got an EK doing an EV kit. So, you know, I'm a gas guy,
yeah,
but I'm eyes are open. There's some cool builds going on out
Right.
there. So I don't know 100%. I'm still my personal opinion on the future of EV. You know, I don't know much about the science of it. I hear a lot about our infrastructure not being able to support it. So for me, it's like, that doesn't make much sense. Why are they pushing this so much? Why are they giving so many incentives to buy these vehicles if the
Right.
infrastructure can't support it? So I scratch my head on that, but that's
well, they're giving incentives because no one's buying them.
right.
You know what I mean?
It's
So
like-
like, what are you gonna do with these
Yeah.
things? So I don't know. I think this all comes back to an administration thing too in
Yeah.
this country. So we'll see what happens.
I was gonna say that goes to a whole different
No different level.
conversation about you know, the administration behind this.
Yep.
So, man, 2018, 19, 20, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years, man. Congratulations
you,
to
man.
you on the success of the business.
Appreciate it.
Anything else, touch points that we didn't bring up? Anything you want to talk about while we're here?
No, I mean, whatever you guys have, man.
That's pretty cool. I mean, so RIPATUNED started off primarily focused on the Mopar SRT platform, has plans to grow into different platforms. Sounds like the first will be Lamborghini.
Yeah, we'll see. Lambo R8 and stuff. Just we have some parts, and we'll see where it goes from there. But
I'm very curious to see and looking forward to see the type of innovation. I definitely want to give you your roses on this, your kudos,
thanks, man.
because anyone who innovates deserves the success that you have, right? I brought it up before, like in the Honda Acura platforms, you know, very mature platforms, but people are still innovating. But what I've seen in the past with other, you know, engineers and people who've developed parts, and, you know, it sucks if other people knock them off before they see the success that you had.
Right.
And it's like, man, you
Yeah,
didn't
instead
do
of
that.
You know, instead of trying to take someone else's success, just make your own. Just be like, you know, have an imagination. Go out there and do it.
See,
you know?
it's easy for you to say because you are the Imagineer. You are
Yeah, I get it,
you're the
but-
engineer.
Yeah. I understand, but like I said, it's doing that kind of stuff to me is the lowest of the low. It's just, and it takes away from a lot of the willingness for other people to have an imagination, because if you're going to do that, you're going to get to the point where,
You have that fear.
well, yeah, like, you know, we do this stuff a lot. Like we'll do a group buy and we're not going to release something unless we sell 50 of them or 25 of them or whatever. Because we know, like, is it even worth it? If we can't sell this initial batch and we're going to put this out, like, is it even worth it? Because we know it's going to get knocked off. We did the same thing with like a TRX drive shaft, and someone else was making a TRX drive shaft like 2 weeks after we put it out, you know, and I think it's probably someone we sent one to.
right.
You know, so it's just one of those things where, and there's a lot of people out there doing it, you know, to me, that's like the lowest of the low. We don't do anything like that. So,
Well, that's why I say I'm looking forward to seeing the innovation that you bring to these new platforms that you work on, because clearly you are a
Forward
inventor.
thinker.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
I want to say the engineer, forward thinker, imagineer, you know, innovator more so than anything. So very cool. Very looking forward to seeing what new things you bring to those new markets. And with that, we could wrap it up.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. This is awesome.
And anybody following, where could they follow you?
Follow us on Facebook, RIPATUNED, Instagram, RIPATUNED. We have a website, www.ripatuned.com. You could send me a personal message. I always respond. Anything you guys need, Hellcat related, TRX, Trackhawk, we're here for you. So,
What platform do you prefer? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? What's your thing?
I like Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, we don't really have a big TikTok going. Joe has one going. We're gonna start a YouTube. We have like just random videos, like we just never really had time before. But now that Joe's handling the media side, we're gonna start getting some stuff going. I'm probably gonna use the Demon 170 as a catalyst.
Nice.
I think it's probably the best car to do it with because it's the new hot thing.
Oh, I didn't ask. What color is that?
Sublime green.
All right, nice.
Yeah, Sublime green. I bought it as base as you can get it.
Okay.
So, cloth seat, one seat, no carpeting in the trunk, nothing.
Well, all that's coming out anyway.
Yeah. So why pay for it? Yep.
Why pay for all the premiums if you're ripping them out and it could possibly delay the process of you getting it any sooner than
Exactly.
you got it?
Yeah, that was the big thing. We were worried about getting it with the carbon wheels, like I said, and
Did it come with does that one come with like that toolbox like the other
no,
Demon used
they don't
to?
do the crate anymore.
They don't do that?
No, that was pretty cool though. On my other Demon, I had that, and
I was gonna say, do you have that?
not with this car. No,
No,
I sold the other car.
Oh,
yeah.
you did?
Yeah, I sold the other one. Yep.
So you did have a Demon that came with that box, that crate box.
Came with the crate box. It's
The jack.
It's cool, but A, you don't want to touch any of this stuff because you don't want to screw it up.
Right.
And then B, it's like the thing weighs like 400 pounds. So
Didn't that? Yeah,
keeping it
because that thing was
huge.
like
It's huge.
It came on like on a pallet and everything.
Yep. So unless you got space for it, it almost becomes an annoyance. But other than that, it's cool.
When you sold it, you should have been like, you could take the car, but I'm keeping this box.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing
People
is,
probably
like,
wanted it for the box.
Yeah, no one wanted the car without the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had to come with it.
So it was, the person who bought it was like, I'm not buying it unless you give me the box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had like an extra set of tires with it. Like, I'm taking everything. I'm not taking the car. I'm like, are you paying for it? But it's fine.
That's it.
So,
As long as you're paying the price tag.
yep.
And I guess my last question, one, being involved in like obviously the Mopar Dodge community, have you ever gotten any like special invites or anything directly from manufacturer?
Nothing yet. Not
Okay.
specifically, but I have a few people who work at the plant. Like, they were able to get me pictures of the car going down the
Oh, that's
plant.
cool.
Like,
That's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Well connected with like all of the aftermarket stuff though.
That's cool.
So we get stuff first. Like, we just did testing on some injectors for FIC.
Okay.
Doing data for those. We're doing, we do like all the booster pump testing for JMS. So like before anybody gets it, we're doing all the testing on it. So that kind of stuff's cool, and then it gives you a good feeling that these big companies trust you to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Rightfully so.
I think that
Thank you
wraps
again.
it up.
Thank you guys for watching.
man.
If you like this episode, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on our social media. On Instagram, I'm at Brian ESR. Hugo
ESR.
at Hugo ESR.
At Hugo ESR.
yep.
I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for the next episode. Steve, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.